What's up guys, Cass here from GiveWave Studios, and on this one I'm going to show you guys how to turn the 6 parts that you see here into this awesome functional shimmer water bottle prop inspired by Arcane that even features LED lights, so it looks like the of choice used in the show. Let's get it. Okay, first things first. I'm very aware that canonically and in the show, this is the bottom of the shimmer bottle, and this is the top. But for the purposes of this being a functional prop, it is inversed. Okay, this is the bottom of your prop, and this is the top. The reason why this is when we twist off the top, you don't want the part that has these little bits assembled to it being the top, because then you're removing these and they're already fragile as it is, so you don't have to do that. And by this I mean, like, if this was the top, you know, I'd twist this whole thing and this whole thing would have to come out for me to access the bottle, right? That's not very functional wise. Just know that when you're drinking, this is how you're going to be doing it. Now that that's out of the way, let's start with assembly. So these little guys that we were just talking about, we're just going to remove the support. All right, so with our parts all cleaned up, as you can see, you are going to have a little bit of gunk here. So you're gonna grab some sandpaper, 200 grit and up, nothing too crazy. And you're gonna wanna just smooth this out so that when you paint it, it looks nice and clean. Now, obviously this is a DIY kit, so you're welcome to do all of the prep. You can sand these 2 pieces if you want to. You can coat them in resin. You can, you know, prime them. You make it look as clean as you want it to before you start painting it. This is going to be more of an assembly tutorial than how to paint, because it is a fairly straightforward process as far as the colors. It's going to be up to you, hence DIY. But nothing too crazy. I can already feel that this has been smoothed out, and you know, I've ranted for like maybe 2 minutes and got this done. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing to the next part, and we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next step. So if we compare this unsanded one to the sanded one, I don't know if it's gonna translate on camera, but this feels a lot smoother. This is still very rough and jagged, and this brings me to the other point that your DIY kit parts will be coming in random colors, since you're going to have to paint this anyways. I purposely painted the example that we're going to be doing in this kit this kind of like color shift purple, because I really like this filament, and I wanted to do something different than the one that I had previously done. So another thing that you're going to want to do is sand the connecting edges of your 2 pieces. So sand inside this little notch here. Just kind of go from, you know, this clean to this. You just want to rough up the surface a little bit to give the glue something to bite onto. And you're going to do the same with these inside edges that we're gluing these parts to. Right, that being done, grab your water bottle, okay, and insert it. Just happens to be one of the first prototypes that I did before I realized this, but I really like the color, so I'm just going to finish it for the purposes of the tutorial. All right, go ahead and stick your water bottle in. Okay, hold with your finger, mark at which point the tip reaches here, and you're going to put a piece of tape there to cover that area. So just grab some masking tape. You're going to find the seam of the water bottle, and just about, you know, 1/4 inch away from the top of the water bottle there, you're going to put your tape down, and you're going to go cover one seam of the water bottle and the other, as long as those 2 halves are there. This is just a reference for you, right? So you can see the seam lines up with this there, this seam lines up with this here, okay? And then now that we have that masked, I'm going to slide that in there, find the seam, align the things, and then once we have that, grab 2 other small pieces of masking tape and put them kind of like in the middle of your little stem piece here. This is going to make it so that we don't have to hold our parts for them to dry, and they can just stick to the bottle and dry in place. We're going to use a 5-minute epoxy because it's quicker. It's pretty strong, it's 15 psi, but you can also use a 2-ton epoxy that cures overnight, so you can just kind of leave it. So depending on the type of time you have, you can go about it that way. All right, so we're going to mix some of this up. It's just equal parts A and B, equal parts red and blue. So just grab a little something, a piece of plastic, the back of a paintbrush, to kind of just mix the two parts together nice and even. It's going to activate your glue, and now that we have that, we're going to grab a little bit of that and put inside this little notch. Okay, and then we're going to find the corresponding area of this piece, which is this side here. I'm going to add a little bit of that and here as well. Okay. And you don't want to gunk this up, you want to kind of just fade it into the part. That way it'll be a lot easier for you to sand down afterwards. And then line up your piece so that it's nice and flush. And once you're happy with the placement, just kind of hold that there and use that piece of tape that we put on there earlier to kind of hold this in place. Okay, so now you can go back in, you know, hands-free, look mano hands, and just add a little bit more of the glue to go over the two parts of it. That way it's reinforced a little bit. It's okay if you go over on the tape, that's perfectly fine. That's why we have it there, just in case you go over a little bit. I'm gonna go on the back side of this as well, add some of that in there. If I come a little closer, you guys can see this is kind of what I've got going on here. See how I've just kind of like faded it, right? And then faded it in, make sure that it's glued on both sides. I can actually go in here and feather that in a little bit nicer. Okay. And it's okay if it doesn't look super clean. You're going to sand this down one more time, so then you'll be able to fix any issues. So I'm gonna fast forward for the steps for the other one and catch you guys for the next.
A few moments later.
All right, so while we wait for this to dry, I'm gonna start painting this piece. Now, mind you, this is not a painting tutorial. This is more so an assembly tutorial. And basically the assembly aspect of this is done minus some sanding that I'll show you guys how to do after this is done. This is a 5-minute epoxy. Because we're gonna sand it right after, I'd suggest giving it like at least 30 minutes so that while you're sanding, it doesn't kind of like, I don't know, pill up on you and actually sands down, and also sand very lightly, but we'll go over that. So yeah, I'm just gonna paint this fresh off of the bed. I haven't primed this with anything. I would definitely recommend at least priming your parts before painting them. That way you don't see any striation lines from the 3D prints. So yeah, just gonna fast forward through the steps. I have a small brush. I'm gonna take my time, go over all of my little details, paint them in. By the time I'm done with this, hopefully we can start sanding this piece. All right?
A few minutes later.
This has been drying for like the last 30 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my side tape piece off. Okay, and then most likely you would have gotten glue on the tape itself. That's perfectly fine. So what you're gonna do is press the bottle here where the glue kind of spilled over. You kind of hear like a snap, like disconnecting the two. All right, and once you know that the bottle is freed up, and you can see kind of what we've got going on here. So you can grab a blade, just kind of clean that up a little bit, and then grab your sandpaper and fade everything just kind of like into each other and smooth everything out. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through those steps and catch you guys for the next one. Alright, so to give you guys a little bit of close-up, you can see here, everything's been smoothed down. It's a nice transition between where the glue used to be and where the actual plastic parts are, as opposed to here. Okay? So that's what I mean by just doing a little bit of cleanup with the sanding. Be careful, as you're sanding this, do kind of like hold the two pieces together to just kind of support it to make sure that it doesn't snap off and negate all of the efforts that you've done kind of gluing everything together. So anytime you're putting pressure, make sure that you're supporting the small piece behind it directly or at the connection point, etc., to make sure that you are successful at the end of this process and don't break the stuff that you just put together. All right, fast forward through the next steps and catch you guys for the next one. And with both of our parts nice and cleaned up, I'm gonna go ahead and just paint it to match my other piece and put it together. Now, remember again that in your DIY kit, this piece is the bottom. So this is the part that's going to have the hole in it. So yours will look like this. This is the bottom, this is the top. All right, I'm gonna fast forward through those steps and catch you guys for the next one.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Alright, so we got both our parts painted. So what I'm going to do, and I'll probably do this before we start painting too, I'm going to put a piece of masking tape in here, and I'm going to just kind of make an impression of this hole. Or if you want the dimensions, this is an 11 millimeter circle. So you can kind of just trace that on a piece of paper with a compass, cut it out, and do the same thing. But if you don't have a compass, it's kind of like a good way to do this. You can, if you don't have long nails, you can also grab like a pen or a pencil and just kind of get in there. I'm gonna end up penning this in anyways because I need to see where the circle is. You can go ahead and cut that out. Right. Cut the circle out and then put that on whatever. I use this kind of like reflective teal tape that I had lying around, just kind of traced around it, and then went around with scissors and cut the actual shape and the dimension that I need it to be. So this is just to quickly show you guys how to get these pieces that you see here. And then I'm just gonna glue these guys in place. All right, and there we have it. And now you can grab your, from what we had before. And what I usually like to do is to score the top of the water bottle just to, again, give it some texture so the glue has something to bite onto. Okay, go ahead and put my hot glue on top of this. Just like a quarter size amount on the surface. And then go ahead and slide my cap in place. And then now go ahead and put your LED puck into your piece. And then your button will allow you to change your colors. And that's how you put your water bottle together. You don't have to worry about how this one comes apart. This is the model that you were working on for your tutorial. So this is your cap right here. So you can just twist this off, right, and have access to your water, and the sensitive pieces stay with the plastic water bottle with the bottom part here. Whereas the one that I had here is a little bit more annoying because I have to untwist and just be very mindful and then take out the whole thing like this. So hope this one was useful to you guys. If you guys learned something, I will have links in the description to the stuff that I use to paint. Obviously the link for the DIY kit, and also the link to the edible glitter that I use for this water bottle. This has been Cass from GiveWave Studios, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.